All around us, people have been waking up and going through this wonderful process called spiritual awakening. Do you feel like you might be going through your own spiritual awakening? I'm going to give you 5 top ways for you to tell if you are also reconnecting with your true spiritual nature. Let's dive in. So if you're waking up, the path is mostly amazing, but there are some parts of it that are going to present you with just some human struggle because you're going through a shift. You know, a lot of us talk about the metaphor of going through spiritual awakening kind of being like the caterpillar to butterfly metamorphosis, all right? So you go from being in one existence to one that's truly magnificent, but inside that chrysalis, inside that little shell that the caterpillar builds to go through this evolutionary process, there is a lot of deconstruction. There's actually a reformation of the total way of being. All of it not pleasant, but all of it leading to this wonderful place. So the first sign that you might feel along your spiritual awakening path is that you're feeling really different and detached from things or people that you were originally very connected with, very attached to. Now, this is one of those things that can feel super challenging. Now, this part of the stage can be off-putting, but it's also super exciting because you're changing, you're up-leveling, and what it's showing you is that you no longer in your spiritual frequency that you're adapting to are on the frequency or in the resonance or in the aura of the things that you used to maybe feel a lot of connection to. Now that could be behaviors, it could be ways of talking, definitely ways that you believe, things that you do, goals that you have in life, values that you hold. You're going through a process of letting go and releasing that which does not resonate or align with you any longer and reaching towards those things that do. So how do you know? Well, it's actually a very simple test. Do things feel good to you or bad to you? Your spirit's voice speaks to you through your emotions. That's your emotional and your spiritual GPS. They come up through here, through your solar plexus chakra where your soul resides. You actually have brain cells in your gut. So part of this mental and spiritual activation is a knowing. You have a knowing in your gut, in your place of knowledge, whether something is meant for you or if it's something that no longer aligns with you. Now, as you're going through this, it may mean that you're letting go of things. A lot of the kind of urge that people have as they're awakening is to simplify their life. That can be relationships, that can be your environment, that can be the way that you just are in the world. You no longer really want the clutter because the clutter leads to confusion. The clutter just doesn't feel good anymore because it feels weighty, it feels heavy. So that feeling as you're checking in with yourself to see those things that align with you and those that don't, the best way to sense it is good or bad. It also feels heavy or light. So when you're checking in with yourself to see, I'm feeling detached from this, I'm not feeling like everybody else, I'm not going to feel bad about it. I'm going to feel really good about the shift, but how do I know for sure if this is something that I want to hold on to? Here's your test. When you think about it, when you're around it, when you hold it, when you're existing in its space, does it feel heavy to you? Does it no longer quite feel like the puzzle piece that matches you? There's a heaviness if it's a no. Does it feel light to you? Does it feel like something that's exciting? So usually the clutter is starting to feel really heavy for people. This is just an example. And the lightness of simplifying your life is that signifying feeling that the light is what's calling you towards itself because that's where you're resonating higher. So hang in there. I know it feels a little off-putting, but you are growing, and this would be a really good place for you to get some support, find some other high vibe people around you who are also going through this that you can connect with and get the support that you need as you're continuing to grow because you are growing. So part of the things that you're probably going to feel detached from are feelings and beliefs and values. And those are values that were taught in the old paradigm. And those are things like judgment, condemnation, fear. And they're those things that make you feel very dense, very heavy. And that's why in this new frequency that you're rising towards, it doesn't feel right anymore. You're not having that sense of lightness. One of those things may also be like materialism, gathering a ton of stuff around you to somehow show your value. You may connect to things that are luxurious, that feel really good to you, that give you a sense of freedom in the world. And those things, yeah, if they're a hell yes, lean towards them. But you probably very likely are not feeling like gathering so much of that stuff around you, surrounding yourself with these old feelings that feel heavy, that don't feel light, that don't feel like love. And that's a sign that those are the things you should be walking away from. The second sign that you're going through your own beautiful, wonderful, unique spiritual awakening is you're going to notice more signs and synchronicities in your life. And by the way, they've kind of always been there, but the problem is when we're sitting in that dense, low consciousness, we're not as aware of them. We're not open to receiving them. So I want you to know right now something that was a huge game changer for me, and that is everything is a sign. Here's the caveat though. If it feels bad to you or it feels like a warning or feels like negative emotion, that's not your sign. Yes, you're being guided, but Source is always guiding you with positivity, with inspiration, with curious thought, with impulses to do things and signs that you're on your path, synchronicities. So an example is, say you've been talking about needing a certain, or wanting to see a friend again and you haven't seen him in forever, or maybe you're just thinking about him as you're driving and then you pull into a parking lot. This happened to me the other day. Hadn't seen this friend in 3 years, and you pull into a parking lot and there he is walking across the street. You know how we always say, funny, I was just thinking about you. That's a sign to you that your manifestation power, that your frequency is raising, because that strong frequency of thought, of just thinking about that person, is drawing them into your path. And it also shows that that person is in alignment with your frequency. That's an added bonus. So when we talk about synchronicities, those are things that seem to be coincidental, that just come in your path. So maybe for you, it's pennies. A lot of people feel like loved ones that have gone on leave pennies and dimes and nickels for them along the way. If there's that one thing that you connect with, that you feel like, oh, my grandmother is like showing me, or my angel is showing me, they are. If the thought comes up and it feels positive, yes, nature and your guides and your angels and the universe collectively are conspiring to make you feel loved. They're constantly showing you that you're on the right path, that you're being guided. So each time you find that thing, or maybe it's a cardinal that you see, know that that is acknowledgement that you are on your right path. It may be numbers on a clock. For me, my specific thing that shows up all the time is hawk feathers, or feathers in general, but specifically hawk feathers. So when I first started going through my awakening, I would find hawk feathers like sitting upright in the grass outside my front door. Pretty rare finding, but I knew, and I know now, when a hawk circles me, when 3, that's a triple dose of yumminess, are around, I know that I'm being guided. And I can also ask for a message and tune into that divine messaging running through me. Whenever you get those signs and synchronicities, maybe it's 11:11 on a clock, or just whatever it is for you that's super special, stop in that moment and just feel appreciation, feel the gratitude for your life, feel the connection with divine energy, because that will keep your frequency so high that you're going to be able then, as you're awakening, to manifest more and more of what you really desire. Now, the third sign that you're going through an awakening, we talked about a little bit earlier, but I want to dive deeper into it, and that is that your relationships are going to change. This can be one of the most challenging parts of it, because it means your circle is going to end up looking a lot different. When this first starts happening, it can make you feel really isolated. You may feel judged by other people who no longer agree with what you're believing, or don't really want to hear about your woo-woo, your crystals, and your full moon, and whatever it is that you're talking about. Maybe they want to make sure you're still going to heaven, or whatever it is. All the above have happened to me, and much more. You're reforming as you're going into this more awakened, more enlightened state of being, a state of consciousness that's not going to align with everybody anymore. Does that mean you have to get rid of people? No, of course it doesn't. It means that the relationships are going to reform. Now, if you're in a toxic relationship that definitely does not align with you, that might be one, or likely is one, that you might want to actually get rid of in your life as Spirit leads you to do. But the relationships are just going to reform. There are going to be new boundaries in your life. So one of the top parts of awakening is, as you recognize source energy coming through you, love energy being a part of who you are, you actually are going to increase your feelings of self-love. And that means that you're going to start putting yourself first more, because you're going to realize that you're not here to be a martyr to all those people in your life that you may have been giving up your happiness for, or maybe doing everything that they wanted to do instead of anything you wanted to do. And those new boundaries and new decisions, as you start leaning into source love, leaning into really following the desires of your heart, are going to mean that things are going to get shaken up. One of the biggest signs that you're doing things right are that you're going to probably piss some people off. That's a good thing. If the relationship was one-sided, or if you were always giving, or if you just really sacrificing, martyring your own happiness for someone else's, that is something that's no longer going to align with you. But congratulations, what's amazing in all that challenging experience, you're going to start attracting, and ask the universe, ask God, ask Source and your angels and your guides to help you find the tribe of people that does match your new resonance, that does match the vibration of your consciousness now. And here's the best news, you're going to know when you meet them. You're going to immediately know as you continue to evolve, this person's in line with me, that's not. It's gonna be so clear to you that your tribe, when it forms, and by the way, it's likely gonna be smaller than the tribe you had before because you just don't need all of it. You're gonna probably have, they say, the higher your vibe, the smaller your tribe, but the relationships are gonna be deeper, they're gonna be more meaningful, and they're gonna match the desires of your heart. Now I'm going to give you the 2 more top signs that you're going through a spiritual awakening, but if you love hearing things like this and you're really resonating with this material, go ahead and like this video right now. And I'd love for you to also hit the subscribe button and subscribe to my channel because I'm going to be dropping so much more leading edge content as you continue to evolve, and I want to make sure you know the videos when they pop up. Let's get back to the video. The 4th top sign that shows that you're going through a spiritual awakening is this incredible new connection you're gonna have with the universe and with nature and with the animal world. This is one of my favorite things to talk about, one of my most favorite experiences as I've had my own evolution. It's one of the ones that I've loved watching people go through because what happens is as the veil between you and non-physical you and the spirit world starts to thin, you start to have more of a recognition of the love that flows through you, flowing through them, because in essence, we're actually all one. God, the universe, source energy is in all of it, and we're actually all here vibrationally as one, which is something that you're going to continue to evolve to understand, which really, actually really blows your mind. But the first time this happened to me, when I was going through my awakening, I'd been in it for a couple months. Everything was exploding in my life. Hawk feathers were dropping. I was realizing relationships weren't meant for me. Books were falling off shelves, spirit was showing up, all this crazy stuff was happening. And I went on my back deck, which was kind of into the woods, and I was just having a moment at night under the starry skies. And I just had this connection in a moment where I guess I just let that frequency of universal divine energy flow through me because I was so open, which is if you're going through an awakening, you're super open right now. And I had this moment, it's the first time I'd ever had it, where I just felt like one, and I felt like one with the universe, and I had this awe, and I was looking up at the stars, and I just laid on my back, and I just, like, I'm getting chill bumps talking about it. I just let it wash over me, and I took it all in, and it was this feeling of enlightenment, which is the highest state of consciousness you can have. And that, in your awakening, is what you want to keep going back to when you have that feeling, and when you want to keep returning into it. That's what your soul is calling you towards, and that's what I would advise you to continue or encourage you to always find that place, because in that place you're finding great inspiration. The word inspiration means in spirit. You are engulfed in spirit in those moments, and that sense of oneness that you're feeling with nature will bring you to that state where you're able to manifest more in your life. You're able to feel that state of bliss. You know, as you walk, you can do what's called a walking meditation. I just walk. I have a set of woods by my house, and I'm just like, Spirit, just show me what it is I'm meant to see, meant to feel, meant to know on this walk. Surprise me. Help me to see that the voice of you, the signs of you coming through. And then I walk. I put my cell phone in the back pocket, and I walk with all my senses open, and I connect. I notice that bird or that frog or the running creek, and I just ask for the energy exchange to come through me. And it's a beautiful thing when you fall into that state of allowance, because your awakening process will then be highly activated and accelerated. Now, the number 5 sign that you're going through a spiritual awakening is probably something that happened as the catalyst to bring you to where you are today, and that is you had a very pivotal moment, it could have been traumatic, it could have been a breakdown moment that brought you in. It kind of had a breakdown for you. It could have been the loss of someone that you love. It could have been a diagnosis. It could have been a moment of pure awe. But for most people that I have met that have gone through spiritual awakening, there usually is a breakdown moment. And it's often a very traumatic moment. It doesn't have to be for you, but it very often is. It's life-changing. You have a moment where things can never look the way that they did again, because what happens is your soul chose this moment as its breakthrough. And if it was traumatic, for me it was the death of a loved one very close to me. It was very traumatizing for me, but I could never look at life again because of all the events following. And what I've realized as I've done my own spiritual searching is that my soul picked that moment in my timeline, as yours has picked it for you, even though that may have been or may be a very uncomfortable moment. Maybe you've hit rock bottom, maybe you've lost things in your life, maybe a spouse has left you, or whatever it is, or you've realized that you've been giving an identity to the world that doesn't match your identity and you can no longer live this way. Whatever it is, your soul has picked this exact beautiful moment in time to be the catalyst to your spiritual awakening. So even if it has been challenging and hard, I promise you, as you continue to evolve, you will look back at that breakdown moment as the one that gave you the biggest breakthrough to your spiritual growth and your path here in this life on earth. So if you're going through a spiritual awakening and you love to have a tribe around you and more support in this process, I have a free masterclass that'll get you on your way. It's all about activating this rebel soul that's rising up inside of you as you're waking up along your spiritual journey. I'd love for you to be there. Click the link, jump in. I'd love to have you be a part of my tribe.